I have a long-term plan on making a Bloomery furnace so that I can smelt that iron ore that's eventually coming home. And I'm going to need a lot of clay to do that. Over here you can see I have 25 pounds of clay that I bought for making crucibles. And as I've started learning how to make thick-walled slip castings, I'm using a lot of material. I don't want to buy clay for my Bloomery furnace because they're going to take a tremendous quantity of clay. And clay's not expensive, but it's not dirt cheap either. And dirt actually is dirt cheap. I'll link you to the King of Random video where he extracted clay from some soil near a creek by his house. I don't have a creek by my house, but I do live in a place where the dirt has a lot of clay in it. One final observation, just FYI. So tell me which one of these is the clay I bought and which one of these is the clay I made. I'll give you a hint. The clay I made is on the left. It's a little softer. I think it's still a little wetter. It's a little softer, a little more pliable. But I gotta tell you, that's clay. I'm pretty impressed with myself. I made clay. I made clay out of dirt. Now I just got to make a lot of clay out of dirt. See you later. Another quick update on the Bloomery furnace. As noted, I'm going to need a tremendous amount of clay in order to build this thing. I'm following, like I said, what the King of Random has on his channel. I'll link to that. So there's my dirt. Let it soak in water for a bit. Then I will agitate it and pour off the clay, leaving behind all the junk. Then I'll get this, which is got clay in it. It's also got, as you can see, a lot of organic matter that I'm not really worrying about. When I gradually keep pouring off water, I let the stuff sit in the sun, and it does this. So that is clearly clay. It's actually rather nice clay. It's very smooth. I've separated sand off of it a couple times. It's still got some organic matter in it, but it's a nice clay. The organic matter isn't going to matter for what I'm going to do. This is going to take quite a bit of time, but as noted, I've got at least 6 weeks to get this clay dry and wrung out and well formed, and I'd have to say that I'm well on my way there. These three are all in various stages of maturity. That's my driest one. That's my second driest one, and this is my wettest one. But I think I've got line of sight. I want at least 3 full buckets of nice dry clay, and I think I'm on my way to get there. I made that. That's cool. It's a clay brick. It's my first clay brick. So a Bloomery furnace is essentially just a giant freestanding big can made out of clay. And I think what I'm going to do is just make a whole bunch of bricks like this and to just build it out of brick, clay brick. So this is my test brick. I'm just going to let this dry for a while and see if it holds together or whether it cracks. And if it works, I'm going to keep doing that. I have got a whole bunch of clay. That's one of 3 cans that I've made. Most of them are not quite that dry. This is the form I've settled on for my blocks for my Bloomery furnace. Let me show you how I make those. So the first thing you got to do is have your clay at the right consistency. My clay is really wet, and so I've been using the exhaust from my potash process to help dry my clay. It doesn't have to be like really dry. I'm willing for it to be kind of wet, but not too wet because I can't work with it. It just sticks on my hands. So here's 5 that make a 90-degree angle. They're about 3 inches tall, and they're essentially nice and wedgy. They're about 4 or 5 inches in thickness, 5 inches, which gives me a lot of insulation. The only thing is it's taking a lot of clay. Probably used, I don't know, a quarter to a third of what I had to make 5 blocks. If these made a 90-degree angle, I'm going to need 20 for the first course, and if I need a 3-foot bloomery, which is really pretty much my minimum, that means I'm going to need 240 of these blocks, which is a lot of blocks. Hope I have enough clay. I can always make more, but it's an incredibly labor-intensive process, and I've been working on it for weeks. So we'll see what happens. We'll just keep going. Here's my interim update at the end of August on my Bloomery furnace. So remember I said I was going to use these clay wedges, which I've done. This one's probably been drying for 5 or 6 days, and it's pretty hard. It's also not cracking, which is very handy. This is the results of one entire bucket of clay, which is a sobering thought because I thought I was going to get by with 3. Now I'm pretty sure I'm going to need 5 buckets of clay. That's a lot of frickin' clay, so I have redoubled my efforts to produce clay. And I will just continue to produce these wedges. At some point I'm going to start melding them together into blocks rather than constructing the thing entirely out of wedges because I'm afraid it's going to be too unstable when the mortar is wet. So more to come on that, just an interim update. We'll see you later. It's the end of August. I think I've developed enough footage on this Bloomery furnace project that I needed to post some of it. Otherwise my video is going to run over time. I have produced 5 buckets of clay. This is the 2.5 that I have left. They're in various stages of maturity. I started with the King of Random system, but I discarded the towel immediately because it was just way too labor intensive when you're making large amounts of clay. So this is essentially take the dirt, wash it, settle it, pour it off, and do it again. Rinse and repeat dozens of times over the course of, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks, and I've produced a total of 5 25-gallon buckets, or 5 5-gallon buckets, excuse me, and this is what I have left. And what I've been doing is turning them into these. So here are the elements of my Bloomery furnace, slowly stacking up. I've got 82 blocks. I need more. I've got to get up to at least 125, I would say, so still working on that. I can make 10 a day. So I've spent the last month making blocks for my Bloomery. They're all hardened. They're variable. They're variable in thickness. They're variable in angle. They're variable in length. The other thing that they do is they slope. So if you put them on top of each other, they seem to do okay, but eventually they start sloping. So I'm going to abuse my friend here to try to bring a little bit of uniformity to them. My standard block is essentially going to be 4.5 inches in length, and the top and bottom are going to be parallel. So that's 2 cuts, one here, and then I'll line one edge up and cut the other one. It's going to get really dusty, so I've got to clean some stuff up here because things are going to get covered and coated with dust. So some prep work, and then away we go. that was dusty and uncomfortable, plus I got to meet some nice young firemen because I set off the fire alarm and nobody's home and I couldn't hear it. So I had to disconnect that fire alarm. So here I am. I've got 4 rows, 18 blocks each, and another row of 10. They do sit flatter. They're a little shorter. That's a 9-inch cavity, 8.5, 9-inch cavity at 11 inches. So I want to get 2 more full circles, which means I'm going to need to make 26 more bricks. Yep, 26 more bricks, so I'll do that. There are 18 of these in a row. There's a fair amount of space between these blocks. 360 degrees in a circle, that means each block needs to take up 20 degrees, which means that these things should be at a 10-degree angle from straight. So I'm actually going to trim them too. A lot more dust to come. So we'll do that, and then we'll actually start constructing while I'm still making block. Well, that was gross. I spent the last couple hours hoiking up brown snot and trying to take a deep breath. Even though I was wearing my dust mask the entire time, I breathed a fair amount of that. Hope I don't get silicosis. I know there's no doubt I borked my saw blade, which I'm going to need for the bathroom, of course, but I do have another one. Here's what I have left. I have a bunch of pretty uniform blocks. I didn't do a very good job cutting my 10-degree angles, though, because they lie most naturally with 16 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 blocks per layer. That's closer to 15 degrees. So that's not going to work that well because the throat on this thing is too small. It's down around 7.5 inches. Luckily, I can put them all together with mortar. And one of the things that I did was I used this bag to collect all of that dust, which is good because I've got all of this clay over here that still needs to be matured, if you will, and I can use that dust to do that. So I'm going to call this one a wrap. I've been working on this stuff since I was using dirt to extract clay. That's over 6 weeks ago to reach this point. I'm going to start building this bloomery next. So I'm going to call this a part of a long-term video series and post this, and then I'll move on to building the bloomery. Thanks very much for watching. Please feel free to subscribe, like, tell your friends, or don't. That's fine too. I should have taken some video of those nice firemen who came to help me. I hope I don't get a fine. Thanks very much for watching, and have a nice day.